Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 364. My name is Brando. We're going to do a Praxis review today, which I can't believe with the 6 degrees of GNR bacon. I mean, Sal, our buddy Sal, we're in New York. I guess, I don't know. COVID's not around. We could be doing this together, but we're together but apart. Where in New York are you?
I'm not too far away. I'm in Staten Island, New York. Last time we spoke, I was in Mississippi visiting my girl's family and talking about Vancouver. And
That's right.
Glad to talk about a show that actually happened this time.
Right. So for those that may remember, I did a riot review because there are many riots to talk about. So there was a singular episode for Vancouver, for Philly, for St. Louis, for Montreal, and Sal spoke about the Vancouver one, which was just a riot. There was no show, which sucks. So you may remember Sal from that. And in that episode, I don't know if that's the original shirt. I should have worn mine, but it's in the laundry because I wore it to Praxis. The 2002, I'm wearing a Megadeth shirt I bought online. Yeah. But you is that yours from the show itself, 2002?
No, this is from Vegas, 2001, December 29th and 31st show. That was the second year that GNR played Vegas on New Year's Eve. And I was at all 3 Vegas shows, fortunate to be there. So this is my GNR Vegas round 2 shirt.
That's just as badass.
Yeah, man.
And for those watching online, I mean, other than the goatee, you got the total Johnny Depp vibe going on.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Usually I get like Kid Rock or Bret Michaels, I don't know, but I'll take. I wish I had his money, but I don't know how much money he's got left. But if I win, but thank you. I take that as a compliment.
When I had hair, I got Scott Stapp all the time.
I could see that. Yeah.
I always said, but then it was one of those moments, and I've spoken about, especially when Scotto was co-host, that I liked Creed, but then it was kind of uncool to like Creed, so you kind of hit it.
Yeah.
So you look like Scott Stapp was a joke. Yeah. My defense was always, this is when VH1 not only played music, but they had countdowns, and he was like number 83 in the sexiest whatever. Way back, I remember this shit. It's sad.
Yeah.
So it's great to not only catch up on Scott Stapp and Johnny Depp with you, but to catch up on Buckethead, because this is my first time seeing Brain since you and we didn't know each other at the time. Of course, I didn't have I wasn't in radio. I was in college radio at the time. So of course, no Guns N' Roses podcast, but I hadn't seen Brain in concert since Guns N' Roses, Madison Square Garden, 2002. Had you?
Were you not at the 6 shows, 2006, Hammerstein? You didn't go to any of those?
I was not at those.
Oh, wow.
I think I was away. I believe I was away in Cape Cod at that time. There was a reason why I couldn't go.
Yeah.
The only time I saw Brain live was what we thought at the time was the only Guns N' Roses show that was ever going to happen again. Because
right.
It was the riot.
Yeah, what a way to go out, though. That's still one of my top shows of all time. That 2002 MSG show is magical. Yeah. But I hadn't seen them together since that show also, because obviously Bucket left after that tour. And great to see them playing again. I mean, magical night.
Had you seen Bucket? Because I'm setting this up because not everybody knows what Praxis is. And I kind of had to remind myself, and this goes to show you what a burnout I am. Because Buckethead, I had seen live solo right before BB King's Blues Club in the city closed. Had you been there before?
I've been to BB King's plenty of times. Every time Bucket came around, there was something going on, and I hate myself for always doing this and missing bands. Putting you in retrospect, it's always what else you were doing is never as important as seeing the show. I can go on and on about shows I missed over my 45 years, but Buckethead's definitely on the list. He played BB King so many times, and I kept missing him or putting, I don't have the money this week. And so this time around, I was like, I gotta go see him. That's great. You got to see him before, especially BB King's.
I was the same, because I had the same feeling with artists about those who passed away. Those who come off the top of my head, why I never saw STP. I'm glad I saw Scott Weiland, at least with Velvet Revolver. Why I never saw Tom Petty. It bothers me. Chris Cornell bothers me. One is just it's not musical, and I may have mentioned this before, but the comedian Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Right?
I was just trying to show my 11-year-old nephew Mitch Hedberg the other day because he likes like dad jokes and it's like just funny off the wall stuff and
Wow.
he liked them. He's hopefully he gets into them. But that's great. He's oh man, classic.
So he was, and he came to my college, and I remember buying tickets for my friends to go because I was just a poor college student that couldn't afford $20 at the time. And then he passed away 2 months later or 3 months later because So Bucket, I had the opportunity to see him and had that experience, and I believe I may have done a podcast on. I don't even remember at this point. At least spoke about it online and posted pictures, and because I had never seen just a guitarist. I'd never just seen like just a guitarist play, and he was unique to me, coming out with toys and the different masks and just a minimal stage design, and then I remember him just leaving the stage. That was it.
Yeah.
What do you remember by seeing Bucket solo?
Well, the other night was my first night seeing him. I had not seen him solo before. My first time seeing Bucket was GNR Vegas.
Oh, okay.
10101.
I was stalling because I had a hairball.
Yeah. It's okay. But
it sucks because I do obviously I'm doing Queens. By the way, Staten Island might as well be Mississippi. For those who know New York, it's just you're so far away. But
since I raised in Brooklyn, it's been 20 years. Same thing with the GNR tour. It's been 20 years since I've been out here on and off. So, but I'm still Brooklyn at heart, man. My first 25 years was in Brooklyn, and the last 20 has been on and off in Staten Island. So, but hey, the New York Dolls are from here, man. Come on, you gotta get there's some rock and roll history here.
I'd like to say I'm from Brooklyn, but I spent a good 1.5 years from there until I moved to Long Island. So maybe that explains a lot to people. But point being, I'm still feeling my quarantine doing shows in Queens from my apartment, and there's just cat hair everywhere, and I'm allergic to cats, and it just happens sometimes during interviews. I'm hoping
I get it.
I'm hoping to move soon where the Ramones were from, Forest Hills, Queens.
Oh, yes.
In that place, I'll have a separate, maybe a less cat. I mean, they'll still be around, of course, but just not jumping on stuff and whatever. I'm getting sidetracked by that.
I'm a huge Kitty fan. My kitty passed away 2 years ago. I have a picture of him right up here. I miss him every day. So, but same thing, allergic too. But that's what you deal with, man. You get the love for your cats. That's
identify with Axel.
Yes.
Rip Dexter. Rip Dexter.
Yeah.
So okay. So I had seen Bucket live. It was a unique experience. So with Praxis. So here we go. As soon as I saw Bucket and Brain, I'm like, great. I have to go. And I call my friend George, who's a huge Buckethead fan. I don't know about you. I forget if we've discussed this before. I didn't know about him prior to Guns N' Roses. I admit it. I learned about Buckethead because of GNR and then went backwards. Because my friend's a big Primus fan and he knew about Brain, he knew about Bucket, and so he's my guy. And we bought tickets. My wife is going, went, and his wife was set to go. He ends up going with a friend of his anyway. So it was the four of us. And so here's the thing, and it goes back to the concert maybe that we both were at, and something I spoke about online as far as experience before we get to the show, and maybe something you notice with fans as well. I have a disability. I've spoken about this on the podcast before, not often. I don't think too often. I don't want to be that guy. I probably make more Jew jokes than handicap references. I mean, I guess. I'm a sitcom, folks. It is what it is. So it's a demyelinating peripheral neuropathy where there's something missing in the nerves where it does the message from the brain doesn't fully get there. And over time, that's caused weakness in the muscles. There's no physical pain unless I fall. Not too often had I hurt myself, just a few times. One time I broke my ankle getting a cookie from my refrigerator. I don't know. And then recently, and I posted this, and this kind of dictated my experience to Praxis. When I was in Chicago recently, and I posted some GNR related stuff outside the metro in Chicago, where above that's where they did a lot of Use Your Illusion recordings, right? So interestingly enough, our buddy Mike Squires was in town, who does our theme song. More importantly, Duff McKagan's Loaded. Also the podcast Couch Riffs. Currently touring with Peter Hook and the Light. What was it? He was in New Order, New Division, one of those. I'm sorry, I know
New Order. Yeah, I think New Order. Yeah.
the Depeche
And Joy
Mode.
Division.
Yeah, one of those. I obviously I don't have a new wave podcast, so I know my one of those bands. So I just texted him like, hey, I'm in Chicago. Good luck at the shows. I would love to see you, but I noticed they're sold out. Not asking for tickets, just saying that. Hey, I'll get you on the guest list.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Sweet.
cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if you'll like it though. What do you mean? Is it like Mongolian death metal? Because I'll still listen to it,
Yeah.
And he goes,
dance to that.
Right? He goes, it's like a goth party dance club. And I'm like, Immediately in my brain, I keep thinking like South Park when they went to like Burn Hot Topic and Posers and all that. But with my wife being a dance teacher, loving to dance, and I'm like, you know what, she'll probably like it, and maybe go with her sister. They were all into it. So just like how I broke an ankle getting a cookie from the refrigerator, we stayed at their sister's place in Chicago, where my wife is from, where their family is from, and they have a couple dogs. I'm not allergic. I was allergic to dogs, but somehow the cat allergy medicine works better with dogs and cats. Again, life is a sitcom. Yep. I trip over one of their dog beds, and just my elbow hyperextends the other way. I don't know. I thought I broke it. It's still sore. I can bend it now. It's healed since. But I said I texted Squires back. I'm like, I have ice on it. I use my arms to walk, kind of with my cane, balance myself. So this is just kind of putting me out of commission. He of course understood and no worries. So I would have enjoyed that experience to do that. But it is
next time.
Yeah, well, going to be in Chicago next time. My first experience, by the way, in Wrigley Field. I don't know if you've ever been.
Dream come true. I'm a Yankees fan, die hard, and
me too.
Haven't been to a couple of stadiums I really want to go. I still haven't been to Fenway, which is embarrassing.
I don't know if I want to. I feel like so I didn't wear Yankee stuff to Chicago.
Smart.
Not like that would be maybe if I wore Mets or something, a rival, that'd be obnoxious. But I'm like, I bought a Cubs hat.
Yeah.
I actually bought, and this ties into Guns N' Roses too. Notice how everything I say ties into Guns N' Roses. Yeah. So outside of Wrigley Field, there is, like a lot of stadiums or concerts or whatever, there are bootleg shirts. There was a whole warehouse of Cubs stuff sold outside the stadium where I bought a Cubs hat. When in Rome, whatever. I'm not a anti-Cub. I wouldn't buy a Red Sox hat. I wouldn't buy a Mets hat. Teams I don't care about the Mets anymore. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Yeah. But I saw this. I should say my wife, I'm glad she saw it. She saw something for The Loop, which was a radio station, a classic rock radio station that I believe a year or two, maybe a year ago, shut down and flipped to religious. Which a lot of the SFM, and I'm sure many of you listening have lost your favorite classic rock station in your area.
That's like an Airheads move from the movie Airheads. I don't know if anyone remembers that great rock and roll movie.
One of the greatest.
Switch it overnight.
Mellow with the sounds of the rain on KPBS.
Yes,
Rebel Radio or something.
I love that movie. It's
one
so
of
bad,
the
it's good. Yeah,
one of the things. One of the reasons why I wanted to get into radio. Just so good. Ian the Shark. Anyway.
Yes.
Getting sidetracked again with that. So I see something for The Loop. It's a classic rock station that was shut down. And it was cool that they made merch of it. And me being in radio, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And if you go back to old photos of Axl Rose, mainly when he was with, it wasn't with Hollywood. I'm sorry, Hollywood Rose. It's slipping my mind. It was with Izzy and another guy. Why is it skipping my mind completely right now? Completely.
Yeah, I should know this too. It's completely.
I've done too many episodes. It was the band.
So many of these. Bands.
Fire. Oh my God. Fire something. Fire.
Yeah, I'm spacing too. Sorry, no disrespect to
No, that's
actual
okay.
Izzy's,
No, it's okay. It's more embarrassing for me because it's just like I've done so many of these bands and talked about these bands. But
Rapid
Axel's
Fire.
Rapid Fire.
Fire. Yes.
Thank you so
No,
much.
that came to me. Yes.
Fire something. You know what? I'm gonna be 39.
Rapid Fire.
Tell me what I have to look forward to. I'm gonna be 39 in a few days. This
It
is a
gets
senior
worse,
moment.
Brando. It gets worse.
Shit. All right, great. So
Don't
Rapid
get
Fire.
hard, man. As long as you're gonna get hard. Come on.
I got it half right. So Rapid Fire, excuse me. So if you look at the old Rapid Fire photos, he's wearing a Loop t-shirt.
Ah,
The same exact one.
how to get it?
Yeah,
That's-
well, not the same exact one, but you know what I mean.
Oh, hey, yeah.
It's a
That's kind of a sign right there for you. That's like GNR karma right there.
Yeah, so it was really cool to get that quote unquote piece of memorabilia that's not only radio, Chicago roots, but
Mhm.
Guns N' Roses as well. So very
Absolutely. I like that.
So that was cool. And also going to the Cubs game, which also I should have been at Wrigley Field for the first time to see Guns N' Roses.
I wanted to go to that too. Yeah, I was planning tentative plans, but you know, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's how often do you go to Chicago?
I've never been. That's why I want to go. Yeah. So I was like, kill two birds with one stone, get to see Wrigley Field and see GNR. That's great. But just, as we talked about before, so many times you know, things come up, you put them, now you have those regrets, you know. Now I kind of regret not going, but hopefully my day will come where I get to see Wrigley Field in either a concert or for a baseball game.
Sure. I mean, it took me listen this long. And by the way, I randomly met one of my hometown friends taking his wife to the game who was randomly spending a weekend in Chicago. It was just
That's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, there are people still getting their first time popping the Wrigley cherry.
Yeah.
Which should never have been uttered. Sorry to the ghost of Harry Carey. Unbelievable. But it was interesting. So going, which the dates were changed because of COVID. I remember being I called actually because we had plans. I mentioned she has family there to go visit. I'm like, oh wow, GNR is going to be there when we're there. I called the box office the day before to try to confirm. Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. What is a box office rep gonna know?
Nothing.
Nothing. So, but the experience of going to Wrigley with her dad, who is in a wheelchair, he has Parkinson's, and just really can't get around. And there's me with a cane and my leg braces, so we were quite a pair going in there.
Both.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Just I got my usual experience now being handicapped, which I back in 2002 at that GNR show did not have a cane then, had leg braces, but was standing room on the floor the entire time. So it was just very tiring on the way home walking.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, and this happened, Velvet Revolver in Jersey Starland Ballroom, when we eventually made it back to Penn Station to go take a train. We had to run to make the train. I can't run. I go as fast as I can. I almost tripped down the stairs, but I'm always holding on to something, hence the elbows. My knee gets stuck in like the two poles of like the railing. Like it was a joke. It was like a Family Guy thing. And I'm like, it gets unstuck after like a minute. We missed the train because of it. So I've been dealing with close calls. Now that I'm thinking about it, something else I haven't mentioned, and a friend who saved my life once. Warped Tour. I don't know if you ever saw the band Suicide Machines.
No.
Punk band, cool band. I was really into them when they were younger, and they maybe it was a song called Tomahawk. They do something where they split the crowd, and they do kind of a Braveheart thing where everybody runs together. I'm in the back, just holding on to, just not out of everyone's way. And I see everyone split apart. I get to one side, and one of my friends is calling me over. Come here. No, I'm fine. No one's touching me. She runs over, grabs my arm, pulls me back by the sound stage to hold. It went fucking crazy. I would have been.
You would have got crushed. Yeah.
Trampled to death. Another fun story. Ozfest 02. Have you ever been to the PNC Bank Art Center in New Jersey?
Yes.
So you know how it's stadium seating, but then they have the lawn seating in the back, which goes on a decline.
Yeah.
So whatever mosh pit started and somebody would fall, they would fall down the hill into you, into the people on the stage.
Oh,
Humpty Dumpty
yeah.
moshing. It was just so stupid.
Terrible setup.
I'm holding on to the railing so I don't fall. I remember this one guy rolled into me like a fucking Pokemon or like Raiden or something. Lost complete, like wind knocked out of me.
Oh,
Security, I mean, Doug Goldstein would tell you, former security guard, you have to pull them up, take you. I'm like, no, I can do it. Then I
yeah.
was befriended by like this 6'4" Puerto Rican guy being like, oh, I got you, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So I've had all these crazy. I remember we'll talk about a little bit of the Taylor Hawkins thing later on, but I remember my only time seeing Foo Fighters in Boston. I don't know. Maybe it's because I limp. This is before the cane. Somebody like bumps me, and I goes, I got a axle itch. I'm just,
Yeah.
what the fuck's your problem?
Yeah.
He just looks up and down, laughs, and just walks away. Like, what am I gonna do? It's like a little handicapped Jewish kid. Nothing. But I gotta. So anyway, a chip on my shoulder. Somebody would say it was me. See, everything GNR. So all that being said, the Praxis, I'm like, I think I need to swallow my pride finally, which I had to do with my cane. Also, I may have said when I started working at Sirius XM years ago, I used to use the cane for wherever I parked, get to the building, take it apart and put it in my bag and hide. However, if I didn't have that cane, that would not have started a conversation with Taylor Hawkins. See everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure a brief. I'll save it for later. Remind me. I may have said it before, but it's everything tying together. No matter how all over the place I am, I like to think. Perhaps how Doug's book will be.
Yes.
We'll talk. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit as far as an update. So I'm like, I got to bite the bullet. But I knew with Buckethead and that place, Sony Hall in New York City, it's all general admission. I know that. It wasn't like the Cubs. It wasn't like certain seating that I've gotten for Guns N' Roses where it's ADA. For Baltimore, ADA was, I forget if it was sold out when they debuted Hard School. I forget if it was either sold out or just too expensive. Sometimes I'm priced out. Only handicap seats available are $300.
Well, I can't
Like,
comprehend it. I don't understand the logic behind it. I mean,
it's not
probably
fair.
comes down to money, of course. I mean, but
I don't know. Maybe they think all the handicapped people are just like old people who just are spending their social security. But no,
yeah,
there are some young people who are handicapped like I can't afford that. Like we would have probably saw the Chili Peppers in Soldier Field when we went to Chicago. ADA seating was $300 plus.
Unbelievable.
I love the Chili Peppers, but that wasn't worth it. So, Ticketmaster said that the place Sony will take care of you. That there's an area for ADA seating, and I'm like, okay, fine. Just like in the Wrigley, at certain places I've gone to, there's an area lined off, blocked off. Perhaps many of you have seen it. And they take out folding chairs. Cool. They did that for me at the Paramount on Long Island for George Thurgood. So usually now I walk in with my cane, no problem. And nobody was mean there. Everyone was great. Everyone was very nice there, especially when you get a wheelchair. So I decided to get a travel chair from Walgreens. I'm going to get a real wheelchair at some point when I'm like maybe officially ready, when things really become a problem. Because I had called the box office and I told them my situation. And I was told the information that they don't do that. The only thing they can provide space for is if you have a wheelchair, but there's no seats for you. That you have to email. Maybe it was my fault that I waited until the day before. Whatever. It was a few hours before the show. She's like, you have to email. So I emailed. I left a Facebook message. And a lot of Facebooks, I've done. I think that I did this with Hershey Park when I went there for GNR. Certain questions, handicap related, they responded online. I got nothing from either. And I was worried, and I was like, you know what? It's going to rain tonight. To my wife, I'm like, I think I just want to be in a wheelchair. I got to do it. So it didn't matter where we parked. It really took a lot of anxiety off me knowing that, to be honest with you. You go in, they got an escalator down, not escalator, elevator down. And what's interesting, a couple of things. I mean, I don't know if they weren't prepared. I'm still can walk. I can still walk. The guy didn't lead me to the ramp that goes down to where the floor is. There were like 3 steps. So I just got up and walked down those steps. and then I just see later on in the night. I shouldn't have had to get up at all,
Right.
but I still had to get up. And I don't know where you were for Praxis. The only place that made sense for me was way back by the bar, and I had to stand up the entire time because if I stayed in the wheelchair, I could not have seen. So whatever, I was holding up against the bar the entire, the actual bar, the entire time. And thankfully, since I had the wheelchair, even though I was tired by the end of the night, my feet, it really would have been stressful and tiresome walking home. I can just sit down and be wheeled out. But that was my physical experience. I kind of want to, I talked about it just recently and let people know, because I know I'm not the only one. And I know I know there are people out there that are, I kept joking. I could have taped this on TikTok and would have went viral. I see people taping their experiences at concerts.
Yeah.
Like that, but I don't know. I just kind of want to let people to know what the deal is.
Absolutely. I mean, it can only help, not hurt, future events there and other venues that hear your story about how they can do things better for a handicap.
Yeah,
because it really is. It's very unfair. You're spending money for a ticket and you're not even able to see the show, because they're not accommodating your issue.
I'm lucky that I was still physically able, but again, if I was stuck in that wheelchair, it would have been a miserable experience. It just,
you're gonna look at somebody's back the whole time,
It would have been pointless. It really would have been. And my wife kept saying we should have gotten there earlier. Yeah, I guess, but it's a hindsight. But why? I wasn't told that. I had no idea. Why should I be punished? And I'm looking for a comment. This will tie into everything because of how the show was received itself. So we'll get into the review of the actual show. Now, this is a tie into anything. So I put this, and I thought about it for a couple of days about putting this story online in a more concise way, of course, because you see these stories go, not that I want it to go viral for the sake of going viral, but just like how I talk about sobriety and addiction, there are listeners that reach out to me that think, even though I'm not Nikki Sixx talking about it, if I can affect one person, if I can help one person, then it's worth it for me.
Absolutely.
And that helps me with my addiction.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you understand, buddy. That's why I wanted to have you on for not just talk Praxis and Buckethead. So I think this person must work for Praxis and the band and represents them because they commented on my Facebook page in which I tagged the band. And I never blame the band. No fault.
No. Yeah.
So this guy, Dave Brunel, hey, really sorry to hear about the experience. I wish I would have known. To be honest, it's not something I would have thought to follow up on beyond having seen staff bringing people down on the elevator. I know, required by law, but a bit ignorant by me. Being as far as I thought about it in terms of making sure people can get into the venue safely. Should we do more shows in the future or anything Bill Laswell is involved in going forward in NYC in the least, I'll do my best to make sure venues are fully aware of the expectations and try to ensure this won't happen to you or anyone else again. Too little, too late, I know, but I'm sorry. While I don't speak for the members directly, I think they'll also be dismayed to hear of your experience.
Wow.
And I said what I'm going to say now. I appreciate your response.
Absolutely.
So I don't, to you, does that sound like someone that worked for Sony Hall or someone that worked for the band?
That sounds like someone who works for the band, but it's also very conscious of how the venue treats people buying tickets. And sometimes they could have a say on how things are being run there, as much. I'm not sure how much power,
Sure. I know.
Bands or management has when it comes to venues, but it can always be something, suggested, hey, we got a couple wheelchair fans. Can we accommodate them? Can we do this? Can we do that? Sure. Most venues would work with management and bands.
Now, so they do. And my experience has been unique because, as I mentioned, back in 2002 for GNR, for 2004 for Belt Revolver, I just had my leg braces underneath my pants. So a lot of people just thought I was walking cool, which is not a joke. People just thought I had some sort of swagger, which is maybe a little true, but didn't think I was handicapped. And there's still people that see me with a cane and think that's part of my gig. I don't know. I'm a handicapped. It's just, they just think people can do whatever they want now. So they think it's part of my gig. You show up but for the most part, I can part the sea like Moses with a cane. That helps me. That has really helped me with not getting bumped into. But the wheelchair man, that's just like move.
Yeah.
I had no problem. I don't want to be like George Costanza, and I don't think I'm gonna get like an electric one, Seinfeld reference,
Yeah.
where he beeps the horn, where he's
Yeah.
pretending handicap. I just kept going, me meep, me meep. The people,
That works.
I'm a dick, no
Well, you
matter what.
get a little megaphone like Scott Weiland, and you start, move over, people. Let's go.
Unreal. So this kind of switches to gears to the show itself, because
Yeah.
the show itself I thought was a lot of fun, but there are some curious things that happen. For one, they were a little late. I'm like, oh, they're really taking this Chinese democracy thing a little too serious. But whatever. They come on. I didn't know how, I guess, ill or sick, whatever the word I want to use, that Bill Laswell is.
Yeah.
Their bassist.
I was aware, but not as aware as after the show. I'm seeing him on stage, sitting down the whole time and barely playing, but give him so much respect and admiration. And as an artist myself, seeing an artist is going to be, of course, he's going to be on stage unless he cannot at all, So to me, that was huge respect. I was like, this guy, but that's an artist for you,
That is. It was somewhat reminiscent of when I got to see BB King at the Paramount, which I mentioned before, and he was wheeled out on a wheelchair and then just sat in the throne the entire time.
Yeah.
But did you know of, and this is where because I mentioned it earlier, about if you go back to Brain, episode 42, I did take this clip out and put it out on YouTube. So if you want to hear the exact part what I'm talking about, where he talks about the formation of Praxis, and it didn't ring a bell until I went back to that episode just to look for highlights.
Yeah.
And because Bill Laswell, a little before my time, but he's a major player in the funkadelic, and it's just a really acclaimed artist. And I'm almost embarrassed to first learn about him, but this is when I first learned about him.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this, and it's like, is he even playing? He was just sitting down like BB King was, but just Buckethead would be noodling away. Brain was going crazy. He had an xylophone solo, which was amazing. And Bill's just watching. Like, what is? I don't understand.
Yeah, he would throw in like an occasional like bass lick, here and there. But definitely more of just his presence up there than playing,
And I think I figured that out. I'm like, I think it's just because it's this guy and he's up there with them, and I think that's special to them. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I'm like, honestly, for me, as a Guns N' Roses fan, while it's awesome to see this legendary guy in front of me, I'm here for Bucket and Brain. And I will say that, and I've talked about this on Twitter. I always say this: follow social media for the conversation continues in between the broadcasts at the AFD podcast on Twitter. That I've been texting Brain one-sidedly for maybe like a month or so to try to, hey, you're in New York. Do you want to come down to iHeartRadio? Maybe I can meet you.
Yeah.
Hey, because I didn't ask Mike to go back a little before with Mike Squires. I was like, hey, I just want to, say hi and maybe take a picture with you and he assumed I wanted to go backstage. I'm like, no, that's not me. I want to take a picture with you out front of the Metro.
Yeah.
I don't need any special treatment, nothing like that. So with Brain, I'm like, whatever works or what doesn't work for you. And whenever we've left off, it's always been positive.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll check with Melissa Reese again. It's always like, hey, you're not bothering me because I'm a neurotic person. Right. And I don't want to take advantage. And I don't think I am, but I started to feel like a guy trying to court a girl. Am I getting on too strong, Yeah.
So it's that fine line, especially, when you're trying to
I know,
get somebody on a show or an interview or
I know. Hey, 2 weeks from the show.
Right.
Well, I said that. I hope to hear from you, no
2
rush.
weeks and 1 day and 30 hours. 30.
And then I waited. I'm like, hey, show tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Maybe I'll get to meet you. And then nothing. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I fucked up, because I admit this, and maybe it comes out a little bit in this podcast, is where maybe I have a little bit of that Steven Adler thing where he just says too much. However, I like to think I'm more of a Susan Holmes McKagan, where I'm calculated in what I say. because
I'll go with the latter. I like the latter.
because
Analogy.
yeah, again, it always has to be GNR related. Look where we are.
Yes.
So where I'm just trying to think, because I spoke about this ad nauseum. Go back to episode 300. I waited a long time before I started talking about what Brain told me he heard about me not apparently allowed to interview GNR members anymore. About a text that Fernando sent out. I heard this from him and from Mark from Golden Robot Records. Sorry, Mark doesn't remember it. Why would I make it up? I'm just saying it now. So he's pleading the fifth now. See, this is what I'm saying too much. But he said, what the fuck does he care? I love Mark. I love Mark. I'm trying to get him to get Faster Pussycat on the show. They get signed. We'll see. And so did Stephen Piercy. He's still fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Mark and Brain told me, and I didn't want to say anything about either of them. And then just a year goes by, and I keep seeing that all the GNR people are doing interviews, and I'm like, I've gotten some of these people on the show, like Dizzy and Melissa wants to come on. It was just not only offending me, it was just like, is this affecting other artists? Where am I getting a reputation? Like, is there a wrong narrative out there? I talked about the Iron Maiden management trying to cut something out of my interview with Adrian Smith, which I put up a year later on YouTube. So I have a year in my head of secret holding. So just know that about me. I'm just holding a secret unless you tell me not to do it. Really, then I won't do it. So yeah, I heard from Brain yesterday. I'm glad I waited to do this podcast. A few days after the podcast, better late than never. Yeah. Obviously, I think I deleted it because I'm really big into deleting podcasts because I don't like to live in old conversations. That's a real look through the looking glass or whatever it is. So he said, no worries, been busy. Obviously, Bill's health isn't very good. He did mention that. And he said, no worries, hope to, we'll speak soon. And he just left it at that. And I said, hey man, no worries at all. Love the show. Love the xylophone. Hope Bill, rooting for Bill, thanks. Great show. And I didn't even, oh, you have a free pass to come on the podcast whenever you want, which he knows. And he loved that, how you can do on the iPhone. I don't think you can do it on your iPhone 6. Well, maybe you can. It's so funny.
Sure.
if you go on the video, because if you go to my YouTube, you can see some videos of Praxis where I taped on my new iPhone 12.
Fancy.
I had a 6S for the longest time, which is why most of my videos and pictures suck of all the concerts I go to. Yeah. This 12 was better, which I got for, we were talking about this off the air, where you're like, I don't want to pay, $700-800 for a new phone I don't need yet. I'll just keep getting new batteries. Yeah, which is what I was doing, but then I needed to download certain stuff for work, and
so it's going to be something that's going to get you to have to do it. I'm waiting for that day. I'm holding out as long as I can, man.
Which I did.
Save
but
my money.
I
go
know.
See something at Wrigley Field.
And maybe AT&T will hear this. They gave me a 50% discount, 50, and then they charged full price. So we're fighting. They know they messed up. They messed up. I'm like, I would not buy an iPhone 12 for $700. You said it was $3. We're doing this. They know, whatever. That's another story for another time. So the show itself, I mean, I had an idea. So I want to hear what you think of just what Buckethead is alike on stage, because I saw that at BB King's. Where were you, and what was your impression of the show when it first got going?
Yeah, so I was on Bill's side. I got there late because I was working, and I would have liked to got there early. Not that I'm one of these huge nerds that I got to get to the front. And I know Praxis has a huge cult following, and there's people camped out the way I was camping out for GNR back in the day. So I knew I wasn't going to get all the way to the front anyway, but I would have liked a little better spot. But crowd was pretty cool, and I got there, I think it was around 10 after 8. They were late going on, as you said. So I was a little worried I was going to get there and the show would be started. But I kind of, walked my way, got a little closer to the stage, and had a perfect view of where Bucket was going to be and Brain. And didn't have I'm only 5'8", and I'm always worried about tall people in front of me. But I was lucky, didn't have anybody blocking me. So that was great. It was all set up, and waited longer than I thought we were going to wait for them to take the stage. But what the delay was, I mean, it could have been Bill related too, maybe just getting him kind of up for a show. But once they took the stage, just like seeing Bucket, I got to see him and GNR 6 times. So very, very aware of his stage presence, was up close at all the Vegas shows, third row when I saw him in 2002 in Connecticut. Saw him in Albany, New York, up against the railing. So I've been very close to Bucket, and just as magical as I remember him 20 years ago, and Brain together. He's got this amazing stage presence, which is obvious, I guess. But there's something called I'm not sure if you're aware of it, called a duende, which is an old Spanish flamenco term that is also very popular in with the Romy people, the gypsy musicians. That performer reaches a duende, and certain performers that I've seen in my life, I've been very fortunate, Axel included, have that on stage, as well as actors I've seen perform, where it's this spiritual, magical thing that they reach that an audience member gets literally an emotional reaction and goosebumps. And Bucket had that in 2002 when I saw him, and he still has that now. It's just this beautiful way that he plays, as weird or as eccentric as people think it is. So just those opening notes when he started playing, and then you're just completely taken into that world of, this guy is amazing to watch. I mean, just audio wise, audibly, he's amazing to hear, but to watch him, especially with the way he plays, his finger style of playing, which is unfortunately a dying art form. It goes back to I'm a big country western guy, Americana guy, and these guys like Merle Travis and Chet Atkins, and this amazing guy who's still alive named Malcolm Holcomb that people don't really know much about. He's basically like a country Americana Tom Waits, amazing songwriter. He's got amazing finger style with his thumb. And amazing musician who passed away 2 years ago, Justin Towns Earl, was a thumb picker. Amazing thumb picker and finger picker. No pick, just thumb and forefinger. And Bucket doing that on electric guitar I'm doing it on acoustic guitar is insane too. How you got to really condition your fingers to play that way. But he's slapping with his thumb, picking with his thumb. I mean, I'm not a guitar player, so I don't know the right terminology. I just know about, it's called Travis picking, sleight of hand. It's called drop thumb, some different words for it. But it's just magical to watch this guy on stage doing what he's doing with the guitar. It's mind blowing.
Duende. Duende. Yes, it'll be the title of his 100th album. I think he has more than that. It's like
I think it's in the 400s now. I can't keep up. Yeah.
I can't even use 100 as a joke. Like he's literally that guy.
Yeah.
It's funny. My wife just says, she's like, does he ever take the bucket off? Has anyone ever seen his face?
Yeah.
I'm like, people have seen it.
I've seen his face. I've seen it.
So I Googled it, Brian Carroll on my phone for her. And he's she loves music. She loves jamming out. She's currently in Seattle seeing Dave Matthews for the third night in a row.
Oh, she left you behind. Oh, darn.
Yeah, darn it. Just me and the cats. Me and the cats. Yeah. So she won't be interrupting this, which sometimes she accidentally does in an episode.
Live radio.
Exactly. But she liked it, and I liked it too, the show itself, and watching Brain, because where I was at MSG02 was just so far back on the floor, I couldn't really appreciate what I could see, like from Brain's face, from Buckethead's fingers, and just appreciate it all. Yeah, that when you're talking about the opening, I was that guy holding up the phone, whatever. Yeah. Hey. I have a podcast. I think I would, if I now at this time of my life, I wouldn't do that anymore, because who gives a shit? That's how I feel. But I wanted to kind of document it. So here's something I don't know if you noticed during the show. This is from that guy Dave Brando again, because there was a post after the first show, after the show that we went to.
I read a little of this. Yeah. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Hold on for a second. I want to wrap up talking about the show before we get to this. Okay. So I enjoyed the show. I would go again. My wife said she wouldn't. I guess that's her Dave Matthews. I'm like, And I think here was the issue, because while I enjoyed it, it could have been more. And I'm not expecting anything more, where because a lot of the music was mellow.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't that much up tempo stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe that was by design. I'm not familiar with Praxis's music.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of Buckethead's, and
Yeah.
I would know a Soothsayer if I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't going to scream out Shackler's Revenge. You know, that would have been, oh man, I would have had the phone out in 2 seconds for that one.
Yeah.
So none of that, but I would have liked the more up tempo stuff. But
yeah,
it
we
was
got
still,
the immigrant song, which was fucking badass. Excuse
yes,
my
it
language.
was. That's when the crowd was like, oh wow, because it was.
Yeah, that's when I took my phone out and recorded some. Because I'm not a big phone guy either with the shows, but I was like, I got to capture this. My dad's a huge Zeppelin fan. I was like, I got to show him this, and I don't think they got that on the second night. They got a lot of stuff the second night. We didn't get on the first night either, which is fine. I'm not there to compare like, oh, I got ripped off, but yeah, the immigrant song fucking it was badass. That could have went on for 20 minutes, and I would have that could have been the show, and I would have been happy.
Sure. And then not all of a sudden, I knew it's not Guns N' Roses. He's not going to be on for 3.5 hours. Right. He's not going to be on for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be on an hour or so.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, and I was kind of prepared for this, although I had to be reminded, I'm like, how did Buckethead end his show at BB King's? He just leaves. He just leaves. And I think perhaps there was a mistake, because Buckethead's not going to do the bow. That's not. Did he do that with GNR? Was he out there with I don't remember. Is he a bow guy? Is Buckethead a bow guy?
They didn't do bows in the 2002 tour. I think they started that in 2006, if I'm correct.
I mean, they did it back in the day with the Illusion.
Well, yeah. Talking about like the newer bands. 2002, definitely not. It was Paradise City, and Axl, I don't even think was throwing his microphone as much back then either.
Okay.
Every show, but they did band introductions, but definitely no bows. Okay. It was just a thank you, good night.
Because my wife also asked, she's like, is there a hat under that bucket? How does it not fall off?
Yeah, my girlfriend asked the same thing too.
Oh, it's so funny. That's too funny. So I maybe it was a mistake by Sony, by the venue, that kind of left. They didn't put the house lights on soon enough.
Yes.
That they let the crowd get a little anxious for one more song, more.
Yes. That was a good almost 10 minutes of just no house lights. Yeah.
So you kind of that's the cue. That's when you know a movie is over in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's not like, hey, Buckethead's not going on the mic. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. Right. It's none of that's happening.
He did do that. He'd be talking through a puppet, or sock, or whatever he was doing. Yeah,
would have been fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So what happens?
Oh no. Oh, there we go. Thought I lost you for a sec.
Oh, good. So that guy, I'm assuming with that guy Dave runs the Praxis Facebook page. He writes this on their page: a heartfelt thanks to everybody who came out last night. So this is the first night. As you're undoubtedly aware, we're in interesting times. We love the passion of fans, particularly Buckethead, but try and remember, these are people. Be respectful, be humble, stop, quote, want, end quote, comments, or speculation, or whatever, and enjoy what we've been given. We understand fandom, but some of you border on problematic, and that needs to scale back. Thank you again for all your support. Looking forward to tonight's show, which there was no message like that after the second show. So I put it, I tweeted, in Chris Crocker voice, leave Buckethead alone. Leave Britney alone. And that guy was right the whole time. So shout out, this guy responded to Jason Britt, shout out to you on my Facebook page, about what happened. And I was assuming, based upon other people's comments, about the show was cut short. They felt it was short, no encore, not really understanding. So David writes on my Facebook page, replies to Jason, small minority, but there was still enough me, I want nonsense going on to bother me and feel the need to make that post. Fandom is awesome, dedication, dressing up, learning licks, all that stuff. It was the expectation that people were owed autographs, interactions, and what you have, particularly with Buckethead and Bill, that was inappropriate. Not to mention needing to get in all capitals, needing to get a toy to Buckethead. So pushing people out of the way in order to throw things on stage. not cool, ruins it for everyone, including the band. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
First thing in my mind is you're an adult.
Yeah.
Behave, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. There was a lot of angry people leaving the venue. And I stayed back for a while. I was actually looking for you to say hi. Didn't find you. So I was just waiting around. And then even when we were leaving, I mean, the majority of people left, but there was a lot of angry people leaving. And I mean, I kind of felt at home. I felt like I was at a GNR show in circa 2002 or something.
Yeah, there was some like,
but I was like, I wanted to even say, like, what else do you want, man? Yeah, it was a little short. I wanted more too. And we don't know the reasons why they came on late and why they maybe left early. It could be health related with Bill. But hey, we got an hour of entertainment. I got to see Buckethead and Brain after 20 years. I'm fucking great, you know? But there was a definitely more than a dozen angry people leaving, whether they were drunk or not or whatever. They were just very bitter, very angry. And I don't even know if those are the real Buckethead fans, because there's such a specific, like almost like GNR fans. There's the Buckethead fans who are just fans of his solo act, almost like Robin too, Robin Fink. You know, like he should have never been in Guns N' Roses. He should have never been there. You know, that's not a good period of his career. So I don't know if they're kind of rallying against the, you know, casual Buckethead fan or the GNR fan, you know, that's like, I want to hear GNR songs, you know, like you're not going to that show, man.
It wasn't coming from me. It wasn't me.
No,
I screamed, you heard it once on the video, my opening video. I was like, Buckethead! Like you do it in Yankee game.
Yeah.
Buckethead! That's it. Or like, Green, I love you. I'm sorry I text you so much. Like that, you know, that's all that came from me. Right?
Yeah. But I think the bitterness was coming from I would say the casual Buckethead fan, you know. But I don't. What do I know? Well, I'm not in really that circle, you know.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I appreciate you making the effort to try to see me. I want to make sure I give a shout out to Kevin Peebles, who did come over. I can see this dude come over to me like, Brando. What did I do? I'm like, are you undercover cop? And he reminded me, because forgive me, I don't remember, you know, Sal, you comment enough on Twitter. I know you already, but I know Kevin, I think was supposed to go to that Welcome to Rockville show where the weather canceled it, and he took pictures, and then I shared it, and then Loudwire quoted me as being down there taking these pictures.
Oh man!
And shout out to Loudwire, who did fix that, by the way. And it was just a funny thing. I'm like, I'm not in Florida, but everyone just like this will segue into. I'll get the soundbite set up one of these days, but Shotgun News about people reporting my tweets about the waitress that was fired for taking pictures. Maybe this just segues into. We'll wrap up the Buckethead thing, but this segues into overzealous fans, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But overall, again, I'm learning how to handle it differently, you know, especially since now it was my first time at Yankee Stadium in years, and I didn't use a wheelchair there, but it was like it's always anxiety riddled. And every Guns N' Roses show, I don't want to talk about it all the time because it's always in my head. So maybe I just have to go the wheelchair ramp and just put a bunch of Guns N' Roses stickers.
On a personal level, I give you a lot of credit. My late uncle was very close with, died of muscular dystrophy. So a lot of what you talk about hits home for me. Can tell you endless sad stories of coming home from school. My parents worked and he was living with us, and coming home to him on the floor, having to pick him up from falling, being down there for hours, you know, just what he dealt with, and the courage and the passion he had for life to like just keep on going, and not using any braces. And this is in the 90s too, so it's a little different. Maybe he would embrace some of the technology they're coming out with now. Not that it's easy. I'm not saying that, but
no, I don't.
But just him coming up and down the stairs himself, doing things himself, holding onto the banister with his arms and using, you know, any type of muscles, you know. So I give you a lot of credit for just literally having the courage to go out and dealing with all these obstacles, because I know it's not easy. Mentally, physically. Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll see how good I edit this, but I paused, and this goes into ties into the handicap things, that challenges that happen, right? I had to go to the bathroom. I had to take a pee break. So if, like, for instance, you know, for here, I'm in my apartment, I can just get up and go. But if you're at a show, there are lines and you're going to fight through people. So usually when I go to concerts, I don't drink anything.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying because I'm sober from alcohol. I'm like maybe I'll have some water just to keep myself hydrated a little bit.
I do
But
the
if I
same.
have too much, if I have like
Hmm.
soda, I'm gonna be peeing all the time,
Yep.
and it's just I can't keep getting up and
Hmm.
down. So something I got to think about that maybe not everyone else. Well, I guess everyone thinks about that in general. I'm not. Normal people do diapers. I don't think I'm ever doing that. Right?
That's like the veteran concert move from what I never did it, but a
I'm
couple times I
sorry.
thought about it, especially in '06 when I was waiting for GNR for hours in front of like Hammerstein Ballroom, waiting to get in and then getting to the rail, waiting another 3 hours for them to get on. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to pee, but then it comes the mind game too. No, you don't. You don't have to. Don't drink anything.
Usually, I think I did this at Velvet Revolver. You find like an empty beer cup in a corner.
That works too.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Don't
bro.
just don't piss on
I'm
anyone's
handicapped.
leg.
I'm I get if I get caught, I'm like I'm handicapped. I don't know what I'm doing. Just like
Hey, yeah.
gotten me out of speeding tickets.
There you go.
Not not don't drive fast, kids. Not anymore. I used to be that way. So yeah, I mean, so the wrap up Buckethead was great, and I appreciate your thoughts and your comments because it is a challenge. I would go to more shows if I always didn't have to think about that, think about
Mhm.
parking, where to go. And we'll see what the next show is. I know
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses have started. They kicked off their show, and I want to do like how we're doing a Praxis review today. I've gotten some submissions for some of the South American dates that I want to go, that I want to do on this podcast. And whenever they announce another North American tour, I'll buy ADA tickets for that.
Yeah. I felt guilty not going this last a year ago when they were at MetLife. I've been to every leg of their tour since I've been seeing them live in '93. Every time they toured, new band, and now with the old band. And I just didn't want to go to MetLife Stadium anymore. I went
Yeah.
in 2016. I keep hoping they're going to play Yankee Stadium or City Field,
Yep.
which is a little easier for me to get to. I mean, MetLife I don't drive. So when I went to see them in 16 was a great show. I had great seats. It was cool. But I mean, that's a trip and a half, man, to get to,
It
you
is.
know.
And I
And it's
felt
not New
that
York. They're not playing New York, man. They're playing Jersey.
you're exactly right. The New York Giants, the New York
Yeah,
Jets
oh, don't
play
even get me
in
started.
New
Yeah.
Jersey.
Don't even
I
get me
know, I
started.
know. The only quote unquote New York team is the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Shout out to listener Iman, diehard Guns N' Roses fan who likes the Bills.
And I'm not saying it's easy to play those venues. I don't know if they have concerts there, obviously City Field and Yankee Stadium, and GNR has really tamed down their antics over the years, so I think they got a really good reputation. So
I
I don't
was
think that'd
hoping
be an
that.
issue, but you just never know, especially in the summertime, the availability of the stadium, how long you have to, book it. I don't know those details. We have to get on Doug for that.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, but play Yankee Stadium, play City Field, play a ball. There's so many other ball. Play a minor league ballpark.
The
Come
Long
out to
Island
Staten
Ducks.
Island. Come out to
Oh,
Staten Island.
play Staten Island Yankees. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's where I work now. And the
Oh,
stadium's
okay.
beautiful, actually. Yeah, I
That's
don't work in the
cool.
stadium. I work in the outlets there, clothing outlets. But yeah, that's a beautiful stadium. Play there. 40,000 people. Come on.
That's what I said to myself when I couldn't go to Wrigley anymore. When
Mhm.
I was like, I don't hope they don't play MetLife, play Yankee Stadium or Citi Field. And they
Yeah.
announced MetLife, and it's like I've seen too many shows there. It's just a
Yep.
big, stadium, and it's just
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not
It's a clusterfuck to get to and to get
yeah.
back to. Excuse my language, but
Who cares?
yeah, we're allowed to curse. It's a Guns N' Roses podcast.
Yeah, you
God
know
damn
that.
it.
I haven't cursed yet. I don't
Nah,
know these.
yeah.
I don't overdo it.
Yeah, as a guest, as a guest, I try not to,
no, you can put your feet up.
overdo it.
No, I tell people that. Usually I say that before. I thought since this is your second episode, you were a pro.
I know, man. I
No, you
still
can
learning. I'm
curse.
still getting my feet wet.
So the other concert I was supposed to see this summer was the fucking Foo Fighters. Yeah, and obviously we know the sad situation that happened there with Taylor Hawkins, and they were talking about because I had seen the Foo Fighters before, luckily, and I mentioned that before. I almost got in that tall dude because he bumped me, and I just have a Napoleon complex, and it was other than GNR related, one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. It was
Yeah.
just I want to see the Foo Fighters again. I think I tried to see them in Citi Field and they sold out too
Mhm.
quick. And my wife had never seen them. Actually, her sister saw them in Wrigley.
Mhm.
So and she gifted my wife a Wrigley Field Foo Fighters shirt. And she's like,
Oh, nice.
am I a poser for wearing this? I'm like, I don't know. You're from Chicago.
No, yeah, that gives her
Like, am I poser for wearing this Megadeth shirt? I mean, I've interviewed Dave Mustaine.
Absolutely not. No, are you
Okay.
kidding me? No,
All right.
man.
I don't know them as well as GNR, but you know, I'm still a fan and smoke
Absolutely. You're a fan. That's right
Thank you.
there.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So so I wanted to wait, hold on. Where was I with this? It's so funny. I've been going all over the place.
Just wrapping up the Bucket show, and then talking about
Oh,
the
it's
start of the
sorry.
GNR show, and
The
it's Foo
Taylor
Fighters.
Hawkins.
Seeing
I'm
the Foo
sorry.
Fighters, Taylor Hawkins tribute.
Yeah, it's funny. That skipped my mind because that's been on my mind, even going to sleep. And
Oh, it's got to be how emotional that was. Yeah.
yeah, because I know you said you knew it was on, but you said you didn't, and I understand if you want to talk, you didn't want to watch it at this point in time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very sensitive. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm very, I cry very easily.
I'll talk about that.
I'm an artist. You know, I'm sensitive. But I lost someone I love very much, musician, 2 years ago that I'm still grieving over and probably will for a long time. Justin Townsend, who I mentioned, who does the thumb picking, used to do the thumb picking, was amazing at it, like Bucket is. So I wanted to see it, and just something I feel like I wasn't ready to watch it. You know, I saw some highlights and I started crying at just the highlights, especially seeing Taylor's son and Dave's daughter singing. And just the turnout and support. I mean, I don't want to get on a rant about the whole what's happening to not just ordinary people and musicians and artists, but the fentanyl. And I don't know if that was the case with Taylor, but just the drugs and how we're losing way too many people again to drugs. Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to go on a rant, but
I haven't gone on rants.
Yeah, it makes me angry. It makes me sad. It makes me frustrated for his family, his fans, and just he was so young and talented. He had so much more to give. The Foo Fighters, as great as they are, still have so much more to give as a band.
I know.
So yeah, I just wasn't ready to watch it, but
I respect that and I understand that, because as soon as it started, and I was watching it as I was kind of writing for Doug's book, you know, kind of just keep my eye on it and stopping whenever there was a moment I really wanted to watch. I knew at the beginning, like, oh fuck, this is gonna be sad. This is just gonna be sad. I mean, this is gonna be a great. I want to see who's here. This is gonna be a great show, but man, this is gonna be sad. But they really did a brilliant job of riding that roller coaster of sad. Then it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's remember. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, celebrate.
Let's be serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's kind of remember in a positive fun. You know, so it was just so well done, and especially the mixture of artists and how they would pay respects. I was blown away, as the entire rock world, when Wolfgang Van Halen came out to play his father's songs.
Saw a little of that today. Yeah.
I will say, Josh Homme, whatever you want to say about the guy, his David Bowie was scarily good.
That I will have to check out.
Wow.
I read about it, but I haven't heard or seen that.
His version of Let's Dance was great. However, his Goodbye Yellow Brick Road for Elton John was a unique interpretation of it.
Nice.
But Brian Johnson came out.
Back in Black, right?
Back in Black with Justin Hawkins from The Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
It made me long a little bit for Axel DC a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was great to see him back on the stage. But as you mentioned, Violet Grohl, I mean, wow, what a voice, doing Jeff Buckley, paying respect to him through that.
Yep.
And I'm sure a lot of the GNR fan base knows that Guns N' Roses, Duff's daughter is Grace, was named after that album.
Mm-hmm.
His one and only album, because he's another soul we lost away too young.
Yeah.
It's online. It's on it's like the Desperate Times website. I did an interview with his former manager, Dave Laurie. I got to put it up on my YouTube channel at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I remember preparing for that interview and just really learning so much about Jeff Buckley, and to pay tribute to him, and then pay tribute to Olivia Newton-John on the drum head, and then our boy, Guns N' Roses, former Guns N' Roses drummer Josh Freese was there throughout.
Josh is awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it's great. A few weeks ago, he was taking a picture with Alex Van Halen. I'm like, oh, Josh Freese, he knows everyone, man.
Yeah.
And then he's filling in. He's playing with Van Halen. He's playing with the
I
Foo
can't even
Fighters.
keep up how many great bands he's not only been in but still plays with and just jumps right in. Like unbelievable. Talk about a monster beyond the kit.
I'll make the argument that, and then this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They got to change what they do. He should be in there.
Oh yeah,
with or without Devo. Like he's one of those career, I don't want to say compiler like in baseball or something, but look at his stats, look what he does. Look what he's a Hall of Fame drummer.
How versatile he is to go from like 9 Inch Nails to Devo to Sting,
Oh, it's Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne, like all these artists that Offspring he filled in a couple of times. He played the Offspring. Yeah. I mean, that's a little more down his punk rock roots, but still, I'm like,
it was just amazing to see. I'm going to reach out to Josh, see if I can get him back on the podcast to talk about the experience.
Mm-hmm. That'll be good.
Yeah, we'll see. I won't bother him too much. I just try to unbelievable. I try not. It's a battle I play in my brain. And a lot of times it spills out on this podcast. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate
Maybe you'll get him and Brain on at the same time. They can talk about their GNR transition.
Maybe. I mean, that's a point though. We laugh, but Frank's like, oh, maybe I'll come on the podcast with Brain. And then that's when I was shut down from doing any GNR interview.
I was at Brain's last show in Paris in 2006 when he literally handed the drumsticks to Frank in the same room as Izzy Stradlin.
Nice.
Talk about a night. That's another podcast. Talk about that some other time.
That's it. Apparently, it's enough material to keep this podcast going.
Yes.
Because people, of course, with this podcast, it's Gun Throws Steam podcast. Like, is GNR going to make an appearance? Well, you first know that they're not because they're out of town. They're in Brazil. So they couldn't physically be there. At least I don't know what they're going to be when the show is in California. This one was in at Wembley Stadium. Mm-hmm. I haven't looked. I don't think they're still going to be in South America.
Yeah, they're going to be out of states. I think till Christmas. I think.
Sure. So, and it's not. And I get you don't need to take a red eye back. It's just not logical. But as soon as I saw, I think the first video message was from Elton John. I'm like, GNR is going to do that.
Yeah,
I knew it. Because I think it was a little bit more than Slash and Duff. They shared the Taylor Hawkins information on their social media because they love Taylor, and they've expressed that before on their social media. But I just think maybe that's what they were doing. But I'm like, you know what? As soon as that video thing happened, I bet it's going to happen. I didn't know it's either going to be Slash and Duff or all three. That I didn't know, and I was like, wow, this would be if they're getting Rush out there. Which South Park did it first a few weeks ago, by the way, with getting Rush back, but getting like some of these artists that just haven't played in a while, fucking James Gang, just like amazing, them Crooked Vultures with John Paul Jones. Maybe they'll get Axl. No, it was just Slash and Duff in what may be a rehearsal room. You saw Frank's drum kit behind the scene. For one, since I knew it was coming. I'm watching on the same laptop I'm looking at right now. I had my phone next to me. I'm like, I'm going to be ready. I wasn't just holding the phone up, though. I was kind of like quick draw McGraw. I'm like, what? I just start taping my low quality iPhone 12 vid and shared it. I wanted everyone to see it and share it. And I'll say this, and maybe you can give your opinion. Don't maybe give your opinion. But where's Axl? Wherever the fuck he wants to be. He's sleeping. Maybe it was too you didn't want to watch it. Maybe it was too emotional for him to be in it. That's okay.
I didn't realize, first of all, that it's kind of ironic, and I think it's awesome how Axl was on the same stage as Dave Grohl to begin with after 1992 and the whole Nirvana thing, and even Pat Smear, who, who was the second guitar player in Nirvana during their last years. But how they've all kind of reconciled, and Dave gave him the chair and everything else. And I didn't realize how close they all kind of became in the last few years, and especially when Taylor died. And I wasn't expecting Axl. That's not his style. Of course, I mean, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. I'm sure he's reached out to the family, and he probably sent more flowers than we ever could imagine. And, that's just, it's not his style. I don't think he's doing it because he's, too cool or too, whatever. I think it's just his way of, I mean, he hasn't, I was a huge, and still am, Blind Melon Shannon Hoon fan. And Axel, well, no one's really obviously had the chance to ask him, but he's never even really publicly talked about Shannon. He wore
Yeah.
that Blind Melon shirt a couple of years ago on tour. You know, so he was with a fan, and I was like, "That's awesome," you know.
Mm.
But you would even think maybe like, you know, the anniversary comes up. They've been on tour numerous times. When Shannon's anniversary came up, they would sing dedicated, you know, or maybe have Shannon's daughter, you know, sing
I asked her
with the
that.
band. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, you did. And I got to talk to Danny Clinch at the premiere of the Blind Melon Shannon documentary, which was
Nice.
emotional. And we talked a little bit about that.
That's
I think
cool.
it's just Axel's way of dealing with things, you know. It's
Sure.
but who knows? But you know, I
It's-
wasn't expecting anything from Axel, but I think his tweet was beautiful that he wrote to him, and
Right.
the pictures that Kat shared, which we start seeing like years later. I'm like, these are amazing photos.
I know.
We're never gonna get a book. So like, just share them. We're never gonna get a tour book. We're never gonna just put them out there. Just like, you know, why we got to see this picture from like 4 years ago? It's beautiful. Them all backstage talking, and him, especially him and Axel and Taylor talking. You know, like,
yeah.
So yeah.
He doesn't need to explain himself to anybody. Just like
No.
Buckethead doesn't need to explain himself to anybody. You know, it's just they're human beings, just like that guy said. They're human beings, and you know, we lost a human being with Taylor Hawkins, and you said you have no problem admitting that you cry. Yes. You know, at first I was holding back. I was getting sad, lumps in my throat. But then times like these, and at the end, it's just like, fuck.
How could you not? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just started crying, bro.
And
it was
it's
just
a healthy release, man. This is 2022, man.
I know. It was just like, fuck, man. And you start thinking about your own life, and I'm like, just everything they did, because I wasn't around for the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. You know, I wasn't. What was it, 85?
92?
What am I thinking? I'm thinking Farm Aid.
Live Aid. Yeah.
Live Aid. Sorry. So Live Aid. So 92, I was too young. Regardless, both of them, I was too young.
Yeah.
In my lifetime, this was the greatest televised concert ever.
I'm hearing from a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough to see the Freddie Mercury concert live. You know, as it happened on TV, it was broadcast on 3 channels at that time in 92.
Yeah, I never had that. Here, it was either on YouTube or Paramount Plus.
Yeah. Being a huge Queen fan, I was crying the whole time. It was the first band I really got into. The Game album is still, I can count the bass licks on the song Dragon Attack that leads up to Another One Bites the Dust, because as a kid, I would just play that album over and over again, spin around with the cover and kick off the dun 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 that leads into Another One Bites the Dust. I was like, I count them. Another One Bites the Dust kicks in. But Freddie Mercury concert, I thought that was, it's so timeless. I have the DVD now. I'll put it on once in a while, you know, or watch the YouTube, you know. And I think that's what's going to be with Taylor, from everything I've heard, you know. And 6 hours, you know, it's beautiful. That's fine, you know.
And I grew up with knowing about the Freddie Mercury tribute and knowing about Radio Gaga and everything. But this was the first time, like, we've sat down, especially during the pandemic where everybody was live streaming. This was just so well put together, and they included Queen in such a way with Roger Taylor and Brian May. It was just so well done and thought out that it's just like, how have award shows gotten it wrong for so long? Like, just get Dave Grohl to run everything.
Yeah.
Holy shit. It was nothing was
Absolutely.
overblown. Everything was just tied in, whether it was subtle or it was obvious. Everything just like a song, like an album. It really was a beautiful. I didn't think, I don't know if I was going to watch the whole thing, but when am I going? I was just writing and watching the whole thing. The whole time. So when you get a chance, you know, just do it. Watch some of the happier performances.
Yeah, I think I will. Even when I'm, you know, when I'm in my really, I'm ready to be sad. I'm already sad and messed up for the day, so I'll just watch it. Those are plenty of those. So I'm definitely gonna watch. Yesterday just wasn't the day. I wasn't in the. Luckily, fortunately, I wasn't in that space, but it's coming.
I got you. All good. And I was just like, you know what? I want to watch it. I want to at least for me to talk about it on a podcast, and I'm glad I was able to get it out, at least with you, because I was tweeting away about it.
I
appreciate everybody engaging with me. It's just to talk about that a little bit in addition to the Praxis show, because I want to talk about concerts. So again, I put it out there. People have reached out to me. If you're going to any of the South American dates, I know it's hard with trying to figure out time zone. We'll always do our best. Not everybody's like Sal. We're both in Eastern time zone. No issues here. You know, we'll do our best to figure it out, man. Oh, and this is, I guess, what I want to talk about, because I told you some stuff off the air that I'm like, do I want to finish talking about it? So in addition to talking about like my disability experience at Praxis and talking about my feelings, geez, should be like appetite for emo, or you know, I think was that somebody used that phrase once. I wish I can give them credit. But I started talking a little bit about the update with the book, and then I deleted it because I'm like, you know what? It's sometimes with Twitter or social media, things could, you know, how well thought out you think what you write is, it can be taken out of context. I'm like, you know, let me take this down. Same thing with the Alan Niven interview that I shared, a new Alan Niven interview that I did. And something else I should have prepared. A listener of mine did it, which is crazy. He works some sort of news outlet, and I'm reading it, and a lot about Great White. GNR stuff is unfortunately what you expect. A lot of bitterness towards Doug Goldstein and Axl Rose, that he almost regrets managing Guns N' Roses, and just said some nasty things about Doug. And I kind of quoted the nasty things about Doug, and I just sigh. You know, it's just sad because I love them both. And it's true. I mean, love is you know, I love my wife. I say, you know, I'm not, but I've met Alan. He's been on the show. It's not like I consider somebody a friend like that just from interviewing them. But I told the story about Arizona, meeting him, throwing up in front of him, him buying, and his wife buying me lunch, and my wife lunch. She was great. And Doug, obviously, I've developed a relationship with now with his working on his book. And people were reaching out to Doug being like, that's fucked up of Brando to share that. Like, what? Like, I'm just reporting what happened. And if anything, maybe you wanted me to go up and in on Alan and being like, fuck you. I don't want to do that. It's just not, that's not my experience. And I don't, it's not devaluing Doug's experience. It's just, that's just not me. It just makes me sad. It's kind of like how it was with Axl and Slash. I was kind of more of an Axl guy. I'm kind of more of a Doug guy because I'm closer with him. But at the end of the day, like, I really wish you got along, kind of thing. So, so that being said, with Doug's book, which Alan knows about, so I unfortunately have to be kind of vague because, you know, the only people really involved in it are Doug and I, and we're going to add some people at the end, you know, when we get going. So there's a literary contact that we have. And so the way I've been writing it, I've written in such small amounts before. I have a broadcast journalism background. I did creative writing throughout through college and high school, and little articles and newspapers and little things like that. It's not like I've never written anything. I've never written a book. I have a self-published Cape Cod book, which is not much. I haven't written Tolstoy. You know, I haven't written War and Peace. I'm not writing, you know, fan fiction. I'm not going crazy, but I have written. So my plan was almost what we're doing now with Doug. Not so much of an interview, him tell stories, me ask questions, gear him. We did that for almost a year. I'm transcribing all that shit, which takes so long to do, even with the transcription program, and trying my best to organize it all to make sense and what goes into what chapter. You know, because you're talking about the St. Louis riot, is that one chapter, or is there going to be other stuff involved in that chapter?
Right.
So I'm doing all of that. And at one point, Doug's like, I think we're ready to go talk to somebody. We should be getting paid for our work now. Okay. Talk to somebody. This guy is like, you know, gives us information we're supposed to have. I'm working some more. I'm supposed to come up with a 1-page summary. I'm coming up with a 3 to 5 page summary. Do those. Show those to Doug. He loves them. Send it to this person. And it was like, Brandon's not the guy. He's like, he can't do this. And I was like, what? Was never on the table. So, and I apologized, you know, if Doug, whatever, hears this, but it's because it affected, and it's the same. I tied it with Axl and Chinese democracy and everything. It's silly, but it affects your mental health at times when people doubt you, where it's like, wait a minute, I'm doing it. I'm working on it. You know, when people are like, oh, maybe Axl's being lazy, just sitting on his ass. I'm sure maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was working. I don't know what he was doing, but I'm not. So it was just a lot of being judged for my time when you don't know how I'm spending my time. Because I took the last like 7 weeks off. Both Doug and I did. He had some stuff to take care of. I had some stuff to take care of, and just to get away from the book.
Yeah.
And the guy, it's just like being questioned. Where you send me nothing in 7 weeks? we're not working with you may be working, like, it's just what is happening here. So it makes me super defensive when I feel like I'm trying to be like outed or things behind my back. But Doug has been just amazing the entire time. I love the guy to death. I spoke to him yesterday at length. Maybe we texted. Oh yeah, I think at the beginning, right? Let's see what he texted me. It's so funny. He just like randomly texts me stupid shit, and not even always about the book. This Facebook reel, hilarious. I'm gonna watch it on Facebook. What is this? 40. Okay, this is too long. It's like a 45-second stupid video. He's like hilarious. And then sometimes he'll send me that because Doug is that's just Doug. And what else did he send me? If I haven't, he sent me this last night. Okay. If I haven't, I want to get into detail about how Axel treats women, how he's an absolute gentleman. I like to say that him and Russell Hitchcock from, Russell Hitchcock?
Yes.
I'm all out of love. Sorry. Are the best mannered, kindest men. And I told them that, like, oh, we talked about a white horse story with Stephanie Seymour. Oh, there's so much more than that.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. So there's so much to do.
There's 10 pages right there.
Bro, I said, bro, the New York is coming out on me this episode. I am close to 200 pages, if not 200 pages now, and I'm not done. That's the thing. So that's the front.
So the bottom line for me is someone like you has to be the one to get these stories out of Doug. And the fact that you have such a great relationship, and I've seen it on the podcast and heard it, how comfortable he is talking to you, you are the one who's gonna be the vessel to get all those have those stories out.
I hope so, because I think this guy doesn't
the guy doesn't see it, because he can get somebody else to sit in your chair who can't ask the questions that, and you're not come from the same perspective. Like, you're a GNR fan, the questions to ask. You're not being,
superficial or just being
exactly.
Like,
you're not looking for like
who
gossip.
did you fuck? Who did you do drugs with?
You're telling Doug's story.
Yeah.
So unless this guy wants something else, which would be a bullshit book in my opinion, I don't want to read another Guns N' Roses gossip book.
A quote unquote
I want to hear Doug's
author.
story.
I know it's a quote unquote author, but I'm like Snooki's an author.
But yeah.
But I know they always get somebody to work with, and I've always been open to that working. With. We'll see if this is a 3 off, by Doug Goldstein, by Brando Weissler, by so and so book, or edited by so and so. I've always been open to that. Yeah, I just showed this guy the bare bones, and I'm like, he doesn't see the forest through the trees, and that's really frustrating. So, that's something I've been dealing with, and I've wanted to talk about for a while, and I just need to get that off a little bit, and whether or not we end up working with this guy, whatever. But just know Doug and I have a plan. We both are happy with it.
That's what counts.
Obviously, we wish it can come out sooner. But I'm telling you, every day I wrote a little bit before we started. I wrote yesterday, I wrote the day before, and a lot of it's just like what Axel once said about user illusion. It's going through it with a fine-tooth comb. Yeah. And right now it's just like a big brush, because it's not a mess anymore. But needing to go back with like, hey, Doug, we got the story, but let's get some details about that. What did that look like?
Yeah.
I wasn't there. What did that person look like? Little things like that.
Yeah, going through the rabbit hole of different events and different
so it's
interactions. Yeah.
I can't help but think, and it's not going to take this long. I'm not going to wood, and it's a different kind of book. But when Susan Holmes McKagan wrote her first book, The Velvet Rose, it said it took her 9 years. 9 years, and I don't care. A lot of
good books do, yeah.
I don't care if I have to keep doing rough drafts, keep going back and back and back. That's fine, but just don't say I can't do it. No. You know what I mean? That's no. That's something that Doug says. Slash says. When you say, "Oh, you can't do something," Slash like, don't tell me what I can't do.
Yep.
So it's a lot
what
of
you can do. Yeah.
I have a lot of that. I have a little bit of the Slash in me.
Good.
I have the Steven in me where I just maybe say too much. The Axel where I get my feelings hurt and I'm too sensitive. I'm like, I'm like Duff. I want everybody to get along. Dude,
yes.
I am all of them. I am all of Guns N' Roses. That's
don't be an Izzy and disappear on us.
You know what though, man? I respect the fuck out of that guy, because
same here, man. Same here.
The fact that he's still left, and I really appreciate it's so funny. that my Izzy story from Rachel Bolan went viral. Shout out to the Chuck Shoot, because I want to always give credit where I can. When I remember, he got this story out of Rachel Bolan a year ago, and then it went viral. I don't know if it went viral again with me or just went viral with me. But when I guess asked Rachel for a fun story, nothing salacious, and he just says like he's talking to Izzy about, it's on if it's on YouTube if you want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah,
he's talking to Izzy about motorcycles and riding and things like that for like 2 hours. Then when they were touring together, Skid Row and Guns, and he talks to Duff. He's like, "Oh, I was just talking to Izzy for a couple hours. He's a great guy. You were talking to him for a couple hours? Yeah. The whole band hasn't spoken to him for a couple hours collectively in like months." And he's like, "Sorry."
Yeah, sadly.
Oh, it was a show. It was showing the way that Izzy was slowly getting out of it. And it was, I appreciate all the sites that shared it. And, it's just fucking, I don't ask for salacious shit, but,
Mm-hmm.
you
That
get it
wasn't
anyway.
salacious at all. It's just, that's the
So we'll
facts.
see what happens with Doug. I mean, my God. I mean, there's a lot of stuff down. It is really cool. And
no pun intended. Just both of you stick to your guns.
Thank you.
I think you're going down the right path, and it's the book that us serious like fans would want to read instead of another gossipy bullshit.
And what I would like to do is to give a select, when it's quote unquote finished, give a select few to a few fans and have them kind of fact check it. Did I get anything wrong? I want this to be as good as fucking possible. I don't want a Chinese democracy it. I understand that. I have that problem. I've learned that with the podcast where I'm like, fuck it. I gotta, with my ums and uhs and whatever, I'm like, I just gotta leave it as is. Otherwise I'm gonna be tinkering with shit forever. But we're not tinkering. We're still building at this point. So just like with this podcast also, I like being transparent. I think that's a fun thing to see the behind the scenes. While like you, Sal, and other people to get involved in episodes. We want you, Doug too, wants you to be involved in the book. It's giving, as somebody who is on the other side, who sees what it's like. I mean, while I've never been upper management like that, I know how that world works and how close knit it is, and especially coming from a Guns N' Roses world where you get nothing. I like, let's all come along for the ride. I'm just happen to be steering the ship because I have the microphone in front of me, or I have the computer typing away the book. But this is our trip. This is good. This is fun. So that's
one good thing about social media too. You get fans asking maybe some questions. Hey, can you ask maybe a little bit more about this? Or this? Did you ask Doug about this? Oh yeah, I didn't. That's a good idea.
Without you and my listeners, I would not ask the great questions. Some of them, yes, because I can ask questions, but there are some detailed ones I never would have thought of. That I'm constantly getting. So as far as like the next guest is concerned, I have nothing planned as of now. They all kind of just happened, which is crazy. How does Dave Mustaine just happen? How does Rachel Bolan just happen? Well, I'm lucky that I have the career that I do, that sometimes you come across these things. I'll reach out to Josh Freese. We'll see what happens. Will I get Miles Kennedy back on? We'll try, because I know they're coming out Alter Bridge with a new record. We'll see. There's a lot of big names out there, and there's a lot of smaller names I want to reach out. I think I told you, are you friends with the guy who was the director for the
Alex Coletti? Yeah, I mean, I was friendly enough with him when I worked in Brooklyn Heights. He was a customer of mine. He's a great guy, and he's the reason that I kind of got really close with Richard Fortas at one point, because he got me backstage at Velvet Revolver at Roseland Ballroom, and I got to meet Richard back there. And and that's kind of let the ball roll. But he's got some great stories. He's a great guy. His career is amazing. I mean, just Nirvana Unplugged, him being a part of that is, that could be a whole podcast, it's on GNR, but he's got some great stories about getting GNR to play the 2002 MTV Awards, and some great Axl stories from MSG 2002. So definitely he'd be great if he's willing to do it. I know he's very humble, but he's not really one to like crave the spotlight, but he should, because of all the stuff he's done.
I know, but not everyone's like that. I had been working. I think I reached. He's one of those guys. Like, does he have? I don't know. He doesn't have a public email or a web address, so I found him on Facebook. I think we had some common friends. Instagram sometimes, and he seemed like kind of into it. Then it fell off. And then I started talking at my wedding. I started talking to one of my best friends, Sean Kassoff, who he works for Jimmy Fallon as a camera operator. and Alex used to be the
That
director
was
of
his gig. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Fallon Tonight.
Mhm.
And he's like, get Alex to talk about this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he had mentioned it a few years ago, but I don't think he understood that I would be okay talking to the director. He just thought like I wanted some information.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I've spoken to Sally Fertini, who is
Yeah.
the senior VP, I believe, or senior of promotions about that night. So yeah, I hit up Alex after I realized, oh shit, Alex is Sean's friend. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
gonna name drop him, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I send him an email being, oh, you're Sean's friend, you know, it's whenever you want. He's like, oh, okay, I'd love to do it. Not good timing now, maybe mid-October. So hopefully mid-October, we'll
Hey,
get some more
it's
story
still
about
still considered the 20-year anniversary. It's still 2022. So
right. We've been talking about that lately. It was recently the
Yeah.
anniversary of the 2002 VMAs.
Yep.
And I remember where I was. I spoke about that the first couple
Of
episodes
course.
of the podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
I was having sexy time with my then girlfriend.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are people who remember that fondly, like me,
Mhm.
and there are people who just never want to watch it again
Right.
because Axel, you know, lost his whatever. He was excited. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was amazing. So yeah, we're looking forward to talking to Alex Coletti, you know, knock on
Yeah.
wood.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned this was I'm just thinking about it now. Matt Sorum, I don't know. I mean, he's not doing any interviews now.
And where's that book?
It's out now. That's the thing.
Did it come out? It finally
Yeah.
came out. Okay.
I think it had too many stop starts and it's launched, it's fucked up. And all the interviews he
Yeah.
does now are pre-taped, or he maybe now
Okay.
he just did them. So
I
we'll
read
see.
it before it was supposed to come out. And I'm not going to say how I read it, but I was interested to see if some of the things he wrote in there were going to be taken out for legality reasons.
From what I understand, they were, because I read the one that was supposed to come out, then it got postponed, and
Same.
then
Yeah.
it was who read the book about things were cut out, and that's
Okay.
not what So that's
Nah.
so look, even if you have a professional system around you for setting up a book, it gets fucked up.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and I also said to Doug, I'm like, aren't you worried about being like sued or threatened with lawsuits? Did that happen with Matt Sorum or Slash? He's like, I never signed an NDA.
Yeah.
I was the manager. Why would I make myself sign an NDA? And I quit. We're fine. I'm like, okay, bro.
Well, I mean, this is a selfish thing, though. I would love to talk to Doug just about this T-shirt I'm wearing that night, December 29th, 2001. That show. I mean, poor Doug's Axel's epic rant, which is not recorded anywhere because you couldn't get anything into these two shows. I'm sorry. You could get anything you wanted into these two shows. The year before, security was basically strip searching you, so nobody could think about bringing anything into these two shows. So they thought, and we just walked right in. So people could have recorded the whole two shows and would have tripod and been fine. But poor Doug standing on the stage while Axel's ranting and breaking shit off stage.
That reminds me.
Just that night, I would just love to hear what went on those nights, his emotional state during that night, hearing Axel go off on him on stage. I'm sure it's not pleasant memories, but just kind of hear him.
I've spoken to him briefly about like when Slash talks about being thrown out.
Yeah.
Slash Doug has told me his side of that.
Yes,
but you know what? I'll talk to Doug. You know what? Because this reminds me, we want to work on an episode with Pyro Pete Part 2.
Yeah, Pyro Pete,
and also Doug, Dr. Stephen Thaxton, the Use Your Illusion chiropractor Part 2. Yeah. Maybe we'll get them on together. So that's in the works. But that reminds me. Maybe I'll ask Doug that we'll do a review of those shows and we'll get on some listeners. We'll see. And before I go, because this story, if I had the shotgun news, I would play it. Shotgun news, I would play it. Perhaps you saw the story of. This is regarding like you're not allowed to bring in cameras. You got to be safe. You saw Guns N' Roses staying in that hotel it was in Brazil, right?
Yeah, the other night, the first night of the show. Yeah.
Just looking like Beatlemania outside.
Yeah,
just
it always is out there for them in South America. That's a whole other. I can't even imagine. I mean,
bucket list to see a show down there, but
I don't think I would want to.
I would get ADA. You'll pretend to be handicapped. You'll be with me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a hardcore country group.
Oh, yeah.
They're amazing. I think I'm too old now for that stuff.
I use
no
this.
matter where I stand.
I know, right? I use this analogy today because for the third night of Dave Matthews, my wife has the floor. You see, there's a whole process that you have to arrive at this time, and there's a raffle, and this. Like, I just saw a video of Guns N' Roses in Brazil, and people just running like it was Godzilla behind them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit! Like, just craziness. But I want to mention, because I used to be bad a little bit in radio with maybe taking pictures with asking for taking pictures with celebrities. Or
Mhm.
I remember one time I was working at Sirius XM and I was at the Catholic channel, which shared, that's a whole story. I shared a window with Mad Dog Radio, which is a sports channel, and Bernie Williams was in there, the Yankees,
Nice.
and I took a picture of the back of his head. I mean, it's fucking weird. Or Avril Lavigne was there once, and I took a picture of her mic stands. Like, it's just, I shouldn't do those fucking things. I was wrong. So when they stayed in this hotel, sure, if you want to be outside and scream Axel and all these things, they wave from the top like Evita. Don't cry for me, Brazil.
Yes. That was good. That was good.
No, it wasn't. Thank you, though. But this one waitress, and before it became a story, I see this video. I'm like, she's like behind the bar in the hotel lobby, like videotaping Axel, like walking back in from the ledge, and walking into the lobby and the elevator. I'm like, that's fucking weird. Just like how I didn't like those people that stopped Axel on the bike, and it's just like, I know they were good interactions at the end, and he's signing these things, people that are around his home.
No,
it's just something a little weird.
Gotta
about
draw the
it.
line. Yeah.
So she was fired. So that waitress was fired. And the only reason I know, and it was very, very funny to see sites like Loudwire and Metal Sucks pick it up, because they picked up my tweets from it. I'm always on Twitter I'm always on Twitter, but I'm always on looking up Guns N' Roses, like just searching, because I love getting news from the fans. You know, people posting pictures they found, from fourth grade. It's just, I follow Blabbermouth. I follow Ultimate Classic Rock. I'm going to get the regular news. I love just seeing his random Guns N' Roses jokes. And sometimes, because a lot of the fan base doesn't speak English. And I'm not gonna get that information. So, but I will through Twitter.
Right.
So I start to see the story. And thankfully, social media translates everything. So I can read what happened in the video of her crying outside the restaurant, after he was fired, showing the press down there her Guns N' Roses with guns across, tramp stamp. Right above. If you don't know what that is, that's right above the crack in your ass. And I basically put that in my Twitter, being like, she got fired, then showed her Guns N' Roses tramp stamp. And I guess keep seeing my tramp stamp stupid remark in all these news outlets. I'm glad nobody was offended by that, by the way.
No.
Because
these days. Hey,
that's what I mean.
Can't use that word,
man. So I don't know. It's okay to be a tramp. I don't know what she is. That's just what it's called. Just think about it. I see people making comments like, I don't want to be looking at that if I'm back there. Dude, I saw the most beautiful woman. It was online, with the most beautiful Axel face portrait on her back. Why would I want to see that?
Yeah.
Like, have you seen that horrendous one with DJ Ashba?
Yes.
Well, I don't know, man. It's God bless her husband, boyfriend, partner, whatever. It's just not for me.
Close your eyes moment every time. That's
What a way to end the show. So I wanted to get that out there because that's a little bit of GNR news, I guess, that's coming out there. And we'll see.
Do we get a new song on this leg in South America?
A lot of fans are hoping.
We get Perhaps, we get Atlas Shrugged, we get State of Grace.
I'm going to say Perhaps and Give a Shrug. That's the best I can do.
Okay.
But I will say that the fact that Absurd and Heart School are out and they did happen, it wasn't a dream.
Awesome. Yeah.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, so, I think that's awesome they're playing them, I just wish we got a Use Your Illusion box set 30 years later. That I'm still a little angry at. I'm not bitter. I'm just, like Axel said, I'm not complaining. I'm just commenting. I'm an orator. It's oratory.
That's what I say. But
I still boggles my mind that how, sorry to cut you off, just kind of a pet peeve of mine for all these bands, not just GNR. You spend a ton of money in production on hiring a film crew. And I know some of them do it for legalities. They want to show, anything happens at the show. They have professional footage. But why would you spend all that money with a professional film crew filming all these shows and do nothing with it? Nothing. Just let it sit in a vault for, for what? Why? I'm not a financial genius, as far as like turning around making money off it. But this day and age, like, do something with it.
I'm hoping now, because there was a time, like he established in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, that he wanted to separate himself from the old band, and that would be incorporating it. Now, I know it's not Izzy and it's not Matt Sorum or of course that was that news that came out. Thankfully the rumor was killed right away when you saw a picture of Gilby and Matt in Brazil at the same time. But they were there for another event. Like what are the fucking odds?
Yeah.
But it's fucking. But Axl and Slash. I mean, Axl and Duff met randomly in a hotel, and that led to Not in This Lifetime. But now with this Not in This Lifetime phase, I believe it's gonna happen, and I could say this because he said this publicly. A fan collector, Tim Tricoli, who was actually, he wanted to visit me when he was in New York, but didn't have the time. He's out in LA, I believe. He donated to the initial box set, the original one, and he's also donated to the Use Your Illusion box set.
Yeah.
So he's donated so it exists. Yeah. It's just a matter of when. I don't know if soon is the word.
Right.
Kind of.
Just to put out a concert documentary. I mean, just will give us a professional show from each leg from 91, 92, 93. That we haven't seen online already.
It's like crazy.
91 Wembley, 92 Slane Castle, 93 Germany. Like
Metallica
I'll pay for it. Yeah, well, Metallica does it the best in my opinion, as far as I'm aware. And I get it. That stuff costs money, but how it's not in a budget in a band that size. And like I said, you're spending the money to film. Why would not do something with it? But hey,
we're not Axl. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not in production.
all we can do is speculate, and I'm just glad that the band continues to tour.
Absolutely, bless them all.
There is promise of new stuff, whether you want to call it new old stuff, whether you want to call box set new stuff. I think things are going to happen more so than just the things that they sell on their merch. I find better merch and other.
No comment.
I'm sorry, man, guys.
No comment.
There are good T-shirts. I mean, I like the shirts that come out that are designed by like Arian Bueller and things like that. But I don't need a shot glass, $75 cup. I don't need that
or
shit.
Something that looks like my 11-year-old nephew wrote Guns N' Roses on and sell it for $80. No offense to the artist.
There was that stuff, but that weird collab they did with this designer. Never heard of Market. It was like it just would say Market in big yellow letters
on it. Yep.
And have like smiley faces with guns. Why would I want that unless I'm 4? Yeah.
And the band's getting maybe a tremendous amount of money from that company that maybe has it to use
I don't know. Well, maybe they want to give away free stuff on this show. Then I'll pretend to like it then.
There you go. Well, Buckethead should have gave some out at his show.
Oh man, I was gonna buy a Praxis. It's funny. I don't know about you. I was gonna buy a Praxis shirt, but all it said was Praxis on it.
Yeah.
Buckethead Brain Bill Aswell. I'm like, no, I want a fucking chicken poop on this.
Yeah, I got enough GNR merch from the last 30 years to last me a lifetime.
Yeah.
No more.
We'll see what I get. Although I bought this, I tried to buy this Megadeth shirt before I interviewed Dave, but it didn't come until like a week after.
Ah, damn it.
And I bought it from the website.
Yeah.
You have cool shit on the website? I'll buy it. Now, but I digress. I've digressed a lot in this episode. No, I appreciate your time, Sal, and
always pleasure always to be with you, man.
I haven't done this kind of episode in a long time. A lot of the interviews are kind of I've been doing some shorter ones briefly and maybe doing a short recap after, but I haven't done like a full GNR regurgitate everything in a while. I needed to get it out, and I felt
absolutely it feels good. I feel good.
You
should feel good.
It was a good therapy session in a lot of ways. Appetite for emo. So do you have anything, because I know you're on Twitter, you don't have nothing to promote, right? You're not.
No, I'm an actor and a writer, but I have nothing sadly to promote in the last few years. Just mostly been trying to put my head down and work a 9-to-5 job and save some money so I actually can get out of New York City.
I tried that once.
That's a whole other lifetime, life podcast or something, not a GNR podcast. But yeah, next time, hopefully you talk to me, I'll be living somewhere else.
That's true. Again, Staten Island, you might as well be.
Yeah,
You're in Brazil right now.
Yeah, really. I will always love New York. I always have a piece of my heart, but it's not the New York I grew up in or remember, and I can't live here anymore.
No, fair enough.
It's hard to in a certain income.
That is very true. I'm lucky that I have a dual income with my beautiful wife, and whatever. Most of the New York I see is inside these walls with my cats. So I go out sometimes to see concerts, and you know, I'm kind of a homebody a little bit. But I do want to mention, because I rarely mention this too. So if you're on YouTube, you can make donations on videos. On Facebook, you can send stars. You can do that as well. Actually, if I hit 10,000 likes on Facebook, I could start making money off the videos that I post, which I can do now on YouTube, which I made a whopping $42.03 last month.
That almost covered your Buckethead ticket.
The amount, by the way, I'm going to rectify this because I fucked up with my car with Mazda and not realizing what my warranty had. So basically everything I've earned this year from YouTube paid for a new tire that I had to get because there was a bubble on it. This is not stuff like, I'm telling you this because this is the hard truth. You know, I'm not a TikToker making thousands of dollars. It's crazy though. I see pages that all they do is pick up stories like mine and regurgitate it, and maybe they have some better editing, video editing skills that have thousands of followers. So please follow, subscribe. It'll help me move within Queens to Forest Hills, and maybe will help me pay for a little sweet child of mine one day. So. So any of that. So I never ask for money. That's the biggest anti-stereotype that I am. I'm a stereotype in every way, but asking for money. I'm just not that guy. So anyone who wants to donate to this podcast, especially when I do move and I want to build a good little home studio, maybe I can get a nicer camera, maybe I can get a backdrop, things that I can give back. So that's my pitch. That's the end of my Bernie Sanders. Like, I am now asking you again to donate money
one more time
to Appetite for Destruction. I can't get the name right. Okay. I've done too many. I'm not an impressions guy, but I've done a few this episode.
Good.
So Sal, thank you. I'll be listening
to
the Michael K show. I know you'll be listening to.
Yes, you might even hear me call in and correct them about how to pronounce the New York Rangers head coach's last name.
That's funny. It's a local thing, but Michael K is voice of the New York Yankees, and he has a radio show in New York City as well. And what's funny is, so Peter Rosenberg on that show, who's on a Hot 97, who really, you know me a little bit. He is basically the rap version of me. He's just like a wannabe funny Jewish kid, but he just is way into rap, so much into rap, and I'm just the rock and roll version. I'm a less successful rock version of him. But when he does his pre-NN segments, this is super insider, I know. Yeah. There's a little soundbite that says Dom for Tristan. So Don LaGreca, but he messes up the name. Dom. Yeah. Tristan is my brother. So my brother's name is used in the production piece of that show.
Nice.
Super insider, but I know you appreciate it.
Definitely, man. Yeah.
All right. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see the next one? Who the fuck knows? You'll see it. In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.